Good evening, good evening, good evening. If we're ready, let's call this meeting of your Pontiac City Council to order at 6:05 p.m. We turn the floor to Councilman Parker to introduce this evening's invocation.
Thank you, Brother President. I introduce Pastor Kathy Lee James of the Church of God, and we will have her do the invocation this evening.
Let us bow our heads. Heavenly Father, as we come this morning or this evening, we just thank you for this wonderful group of young people that are here with us on today. And our hearts are just full to see them here. And we just ask your blessings upon them, their families, upon this team. And we pray that you will help them to see and understand what an encouragement they are to their city. We're so proud of them. We ask your blessings over the meeting tonight, Father, that you would give us wisdom, that you would give us encouragement, and that you would give us the mind to make the decisions that are important for our city. These blessings we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I enjoyed all the clanging of those state championship medals as you rose and sat again. That's fantastic. We now, as a community, hold a moment of silence for those we have learned have passed away in recent days, our neighbors that unfortunately we must say goodbye to. We'll read their names now. Shirley Alessi, Alexander Barge Jr., Elizabeth Burns, Dale DeBose, Pablo Lopez Delgadillo, James Murray, and Bishop Larry Williams. Please join us as a community as we hold a moment of silence in their memory. Thank you. Deputy Clerk, roll call of council members.
Carrington.
Present.
Goodman. James.
Here.
McGinnis.
Here.
Nicholson.
Here.
Parker.
Here.
Rutherford. Mr. President, you have a quorum.
Quorum being established, could I please have a motion to excuse Councilwoman Rutherford from this evening's meeting for personal reasons?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Councilman Nicholson, seconded by Councilwoman James. Hearing no discussion, roll call, Deputy Clerk.
Carrington.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Nicholson.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
5 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The councilwoman is excused. Is there a motion to approve this evening's agenda?
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Parker, seconded by Councilman Nicholson to adopt this evening's meeting agenda. So that's now before us. Councilwoman James, you had an amendment to add a discussion.
Yes, I make a motion that we add one discussion item to discuss the status of the CMAR selection.
All right. Is there a second to add that discussion?
Moved by Carrington. Second by Carrington.
All right, so it's been moved by Councilwoman James, seconded by Pro Tem Carrington to add that discussion. It can be the first discussion that we take on tonight, or the last. Any preference?
No.
Okay. All right, let's make it last. So it'll be the new number 14. Any further discussion or clarity needed on the proposed addition to the agenda? Hearing none, roll call, Deputy Clerk, on the amendment to the agenda.
James.
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Nicholson.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Carrington.
Yes.
5 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The amendment is approved, so we're now back to the approval of the agenda as amended with that addition. Is there any other changes or discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Deputy Clerk, on adoption of the agenda as amended.
James.
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Nicholson.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Carrington.
Yes.
5 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The agenda is approved and will proceed accordingly. First up is the approval of the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a
Support.
second? It's been moved by Councilman Nicholson, seconded by Pro Tem Carrington, that we approve this evening's consent agenda. It includes the following items. the City Council regular meeting minutes from May 28th, the resolution celebrating Pontiac's Team 51 Wings of Fire Robotics achievement, a resolution recognizing June as Black Music Month, resolution celebrating the announcement that Mahindra North America is adding jobs to their Pontiac facility. They are moving their production of 2 different types of vehicles to Pontiac in a former General Motors truck and bus facility off South Boulevard. And a resolution requesting written detail from the administration of senior services millages programming resources allocation for the Bowens Center and the Ruth Peterson Center. We want to make sure that the senior services resources are being fairly distributed to the 2 senior centers. So that's the written analysis that we would be requesting should this be adopted. With that, roll call, Deputy Clerk, on the adoption of and approval of tonight's consent agenda.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Nicholson.
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Carrington,
Yes.
James.
Yes.
5 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The consent agenda and those items are now approved. We're at our special presentations this evening. We have 2. One will be about the City of Pontiac's Juneteenth celebration activities taking place on Saturday after next on June 15th. Want to make sure the community knows all about it. And then the special presentation celebrating the Wings of Fire Robotics Team State Championship success. And so while we're doing the first presentation, I'm going to take the resolution that we just adopted unanimously celebrating you. I'm going to try and make as many copies as possible so you all can each have one. I'll try. So a quick show of hands if you are a team member or an advisor or a support team for Wings of Fire. Let's see if I can count this. Let's do a count off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, and I'll throw in a bonus few more if I've got the resolution resources. So with that. With that, we'll give the floor for the special presentation on Juneteenth. In part, wanted to do that first so that way everyone here can know about the parade and the fireworks and the festivities and the vendors, and you can all participate, save the date for June 15th. All right, and Pro Tem's asking if you might be able to part the purple sea so that way you don't have to be fully on camera to the millions of Pontiac neighbors that are watching live.
Oh, they're so beautiful.
Communication correct.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening to our visitors here in Chambers, to the Mayor and Deputy Mayor Council, and everyone who's watching at home. This is a great opportunity for us to continue our signature series in the city of Pontiac. Last year, many of you may have been able to attend our Juneteenth celebration, which this year is going to be on Saturday, June 15th. We've got a number of activities planned, as you can see. We have a flyer on the screen. We have music that's planned. We have vendors. We have vendors who will be selling some of their wares, as well as providing information with some of our nonprofit vendors, and we'll have food. We'll kick off the celebration at 4 p.m. with a parade down on Saginaw Street. And what we'll also have are many other activities. And what many of the people in this room will love is that we will have a kids zone. So there will be kids activities. So we want you to go home, tell your parents that you want to be downtown on Saginaw Street on June 15th to celebrate Juneteenth festival with all of your community members. And so we're looking forward to having a full evening of activity for everyone. It promises to be a great time. We want to make sure you come and celebrate Juneteenth. We'll have all of our elected officials that you see here have participated in these events in the past. We hope we can see all of them again. We also have leaders and officials from other communities that'll be there. So we're hoping that as you come out and celebrate with us, we can commemorate the occasion together as a community family. And if there are any questions that you have with regard to what we're doing, as I mentioned, we're going to be on Saginaw Street. There will be a stage with music and messaging. There are going to be some hustle sessions. And one other important aspect of the day will be from 12 to 2, our youth and youth recreation department will be holding a competition between dads in the community for barbecue. Dads and sons, uncles, mentees, mentors. If you have a flair for barbecue, we want to see you out there showing people what you can do, creating some tasty meals for your family, and showing us a few tips along the way. So that'll be in the Hidden River area from 12 to 2. And then we will kick off the parade again down Saginaw Street at 4 p.m. And there will be activities throughout the evening, including that kids zone that has so many different things for you to do there. And then there will be a DJ. There, like I said, there will be a hustle session. There will be a lot of good things to do, and we look forward to seeing you all out there. And I welcome any questions that you may have on this wonderful event that we're coming together for.
Thank you, Paula. At this time, council have any questions? Hearing none, we look forward to this second annual Juneteenth celebration here in the city of Pontiac.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Congratulations.
Our next agenda item is a special presentation celebrating Pontiac Wings of Fire 51 robotics team. Judge Bowie, we're going to give you the floor.
All right, City Council, thank you so much, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, councilmen and women persons. We thank you for just celebrating us. It's been a monumental season, ups and downs as it is. Next year, Pontiac will be celebrating 30 consecutive years in FIRST Robotics. Wow. It's one of the... It's been one of the pillars in Pontiac School District here in the city of Pontiac. I'm the person that like my vegetables before my dessert. So before we move on and celebrate the 2024 Michigan State Championship and back-to-back years of finishing top 10 in the state, I just kind of wanted to show you some numbers and some of the things we've been going through and just what it takes to run a world-class FIRST robotics program. We are a Hall of Fame team. It's probably about 1%, less than 1% of FIRST teams can say they're a Hall of Fame team. We thank the 1997 Chief Delphi at Pontiac Central High for the marvelous work they've done in the community. I don't know if you remember the cadet program, but I mean, they've been talking STEM since 1996. And then the World Championship at Pontiac Northern in 2003. So here's our numbers. You know, this year it costs $85,000 almost to run this team. This is not unusual. We thank Pontiac School District, we thank GM, and we thank Aptiv/Delphi. They've been with us since day one and poured millions into the Pontiac School District, almost $3 million. And so this year we're losing, if you can see our expiring grants and sponsorships, we're losing $32,000, and we're seeking funding. And you know, we're reaching out to our city council in hopes that we can partner with the city and, you know, gain some sponsorship. We have 40 students, 15 mentors. I cannot tell you the success rate of students on this team. The gap between the students who graduate from just this team and the district is at least 30%. 90+% of our students graduate if they spend at least 1 year with us. And so the schools they've graduated from, Harvard University, University of Michigan, Michigan State, Michigan Tech University, Oakland University, Stanford University. I mean, you have your mix of schools there. So this is my plea to the city council. We need you. We need the city, and we need support. So y'all know where to find me. I'm at 70 North Saginaw, courtroom 203. So, you know, if you want to meet, talk, whatever. We have a wonderful mentor standing back here on the wall here. Josh, everyone right here. So, you know, it's getting down to crunch time for us. And we definitely want to keep this program in the city of Pontiac, because when we walk into competitions, teams look for us. And we don't have the money like Clarkston. I think they charge their kids right around $2 or $3 grand to be on a team. We don't. We can't afford to do that. But yet we bring in state championships, world championships, and Hall of Fame. I believe that that talent, you can close the gap, but not heart. And I think Pontiac has so much heart to where we just fight to these wins. And so it is my scare that we're not going to be around without the backing of the city of Pontiac. 30 straight years. We've made world championship every year. I mean, the numbers are just crazy what we've been putting up for 30 years in a city that's not supposed to produce this type of stuff, these type of accomplishments and accolades. So that's my plea to you. I'm going to get off this mic and let you celebrate these wonderful young students who just given us everything they've gotten in them and built that beautiful machine in front of you. So thank you.
Before you get off the mic, can you introduce your volunteers that help with your team and your coaches?
Oh, yes. Oh, certainly. So right here we have Chris Treeman. She is a science teacher at the International Technology Academy. And next to her, we have Ben Slade, who's an engineer, a former Team 51 alum who's come back to give his time to the team. We have his wife, Ashley. She's the only mentor who's not an alum of Pontiac schools, but she built a robot her first year and did it so well the teams in Texas were using her design at World. So we've added a brilliant engineer to our team. Right here we have Sue Slade, who is the matriarch of the Slade family. Justin Hawk, who was on the 2003 World Championship team, Pontiac Northern Husky Brigade. He's also a mentor, software lead, programming lead on our team. We have Dave. Dave is the patriarch of the Slade family. We have Josh. We have Mark here, Nichols, who's been in first for almost 30 years. And he started at Pontiac Central. He's coming over the Wings of Fire. We have Josh Murphy, who was on 47 Delphi back when I was on 65. I remember him, and he's been in first since 2004. So he's going on almost 20 years in there. We got Mike Mosney, who does science and computers at ITA. He is also a teacher who's been a part of the program and part of the district for a long time. And there's many other more. Am I missing anybody? We have Mashandra Wilson. She's a parent. She's at everything. She's in Texas with us. She's in Saginaw, her and Mike's dad. So this is not all our mentors. We come like a full army. I hope I'm not missing anyone, but these are the mentors and the advisors of, and Sam Slade. He's not here. Sam, he's at home. He's just having a baby, so his wife, I'm sorry. So, got him.
Trustee Kraft, I see you in the audience. Would you like to take the podium and help us celebrate this great team?
I really don't, but I'm not here to take away no shine, but I'm just here to support our youth. I think they're doing a wonderful job, and I think they did a great job, and it's been continuous. And, and it's an honor for them for you guys to invite them across the way over here. From the mayor, deputy mayor, and the city council, and we appreciate that. And I say that on behalf of the other trustees. And like I said, I really didn't want to say much, but we are very proud of our kids here. And if you can do anything to help support them, dig it up and find something for us, okay? Thank you.
And before I would be remiss, Pontiac School District has been amazing. They've been in, obviously, since 1996, providing us students, buildings. I mean, they've just been an amazing partner. So I would be remiss, and giving us money. And so I would be remiss if I didn't recognize the Pontiac School District. They have been amazing, and we thank you. Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, Your Honor. This is the text of the resolution that was just unanimously adopted by your city council on behalf of all 62,000 people that live in our great city. And a copy will be provided under the seal of the city of Pontiac to all participates here with us this evening. Whereas Team 51 Wings of Fire of the Pontiac School District started in 1996 as Team Chief Delphi of Pontiac Central, in 1997 at Pontiac Northern as the Husky Brigade, uniting into one team as Pontiac High School and International Technology Academy were established. And whereas Team 51 is recognized as a Hall of Fame first robotics team and a past World Championship winner, and is still active to this day with a team motto of you get out of this program what you put into it, with team members continuing to perform community service throughout the city of Pontiac. And whereas this year the team again participated in the State of Michigan First Robotics Competition with a 3-team alliance of Team 51, Team 5712 Gray Matter from Hemlock, and Team 27 Rush from Clarkston, uniting and triumphing with their alliance team winning the state championship competition. Now therefore be it resolved, the Pontiac City Council, in partnership with Mayor Tim Greimel, hereby celebrates Team 51 Wings of Fire on their state first robotics championship and commends all of the students on the team for their impressive accomplishments. And further resolved, on behalf of the entire Pontiac community, the City Council appreciates and celebrates the work of the Pontiac School District administrators and staff, Board of Trustees, advisors, coaches, mentors, volunteers, and advocates who helped nurture the Team 51 Wings of Fire throughout this year and in the many years that preceded this championship year. And further resolved, the City Council encourages all Pontiac residents to celebrate this latest championship performance by our talented Pontiac students, as well as the strong legacy of Pontiac's championship robotics team through the decades. Please give another round of applause for the Team 51 Wings of Fire members. Mayor and City Council, any reflections? Pro Tem Carrington.
Thank you, President McGinnis. First and foremost, I'd just like to thank the team for coming out to my first STEM day, which was this past Saturday. You guys done a magnificent job. The young children loved the presentation that the robotics team gave. I'm just so happy to see you guys here. Actually, been on a school board for 7 years. I've seen you guys do exactly what you've done this year, almost every year that I was on the school board. So again, I continue to wish you the best as some of you go on to college and get into the world of robotics. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Greimel.
Yeah, really just wow. This has been such an amazing tradition of excellence of robotics, and all of you have stepped into those shoes and really filled those shoes as so many students before you did. But I know that all of you are going to go on to do great things in your life, that part of that is because of the robotics experience, but also it's because of all the other experiences and extracurricular activities that you're involved in and your studiousness. And I just wish all of you who are graduating good luck with all your future endeavors. And for those of you who aren't graduating, I know that you've got some years ahead to continue the success and legacy of winning in robotics tournaments. So congratulations to each and every one of you, and we wish you the best in the years ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Council President. Again, congratulations to the students, congratulations to the parents and all of the mentors who have worked on this program. But I really want to just say thank you. Thank you to all of the sponsors who have made this possible. Everyone who is here tonight, everyone who is watching, heard what Judge Bowie said, and I just want to add an extra plea in there that, we don't have to wait for large donations from corporate sponsors, from the school district, the city, or the state. All of us, every little bit counts, right? So you saw the food up there. If all of us even gave a $25 donation, right? 60,000 people in the city of Pontiac. That goes a long way to fill that gap. So I know that we will be supporting. So Judge Bowie, make sure we get together so we can get that money to you.
Other council members? Councilwoman James?
Yes, again, I just want to say to commend you and let you know how proud we are. It's just amazing to sit here and watch you. And I'm hoping that these T-shirts that you gave us, that when I put this on, I'll be as smart as you are. But if I'm not, I'm still very, very impressed with the successes that you guys have had. It is so inspiring as a resident of the city of Pontiac. A city that's been challenged about in every way that you can imagine a city to be challenged, and yet we have a group of incredible high school students that have taken every championship they've gone after. So you're inspiring, and I just want you to know that. I applaud you, and I wish you the very best success in your future endeavors, and I know you will have that. But I just want you to know that we're really, really proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any final feedback from council members? All right, that concludes the special presentation. Unless I've missed something, we're going to now try and do, this is going to be hectic, but we're going to try and do a group photo where you each have your resolution copies that were adopted by the city council. I'm guessing the best vantage point will be in the back, and we move the podium off to the side. We may even have a row, who knows? We're going to get through it. You all are savants at making the most of something engineering-wise, so we'll have some fun. We're going to be doing this for a few moments, and then I'll call for a brief recess to allow all the team members and their advocates to leave the chambers so the meeting can continue. You're welcome to continue to socialize, take photos, etc., but I encourage you to do it afterwards downstairs. Otherwise, the roar of the wings of fire will drown out the meeting's proceedings, and that'll be awkward. So with that, let's all convene, and we'll each give you copies of your copies of the resolution.
You're going to try to get them out individually? And let us take pictures individually?
No. I think that elsewhere. Resolutions. Anyone missing one? Right here. Got 4 or 5. You need some still. Councilman James, you think you got 4 or 5 left still? All right, we might have enough, but we can easily make more even if it comes after the photo op. This might be a record for the size of group photo we've done in here.
Just walk around here so they can get back. If the photographers want to quickly run in and join the posse, or no.
We now stand at a recess for 1 minute to allow everyone from the team to make their way downstairs, and we'll run off a few extra resolution copies for those that still need one.
You doing all right?
I was hoping to get out of here.
Hopefully it won't be too long of a meeting.
I'm gonna tell you, I can't do that. I'm gonna throw a pin at you if you talk too long tonight. You got any hand sanitizer down there?
See if Melanie left her treasure trove. She's got just about everything.
Turn it off.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how you
Good to see
doing?
you, Todd. Good. You
We're about to restart the meeting in about a minute.
All right, we're going to resume our meeting, so if we can close any side doors and cease any socializing. We're now at recognition of elected officials. You heard from Judge Bowie and Trustee Kraft, but are there any current elected officials that would like to give an update in their capacity of their position in the community? All right, hearing none, we are now at agenda address. Pro Tem Carrington, are there any requests tonight?
Yes. Yes, President McGinnis, Dr. Deirdre Waterman. And what items, please? Item 4.
Microphone.
Great to see Wings of Fire. As mayor, I also gave them a Partners in Progress Award for all their magnificent accomplishments, so it's great to see our young people doing so well and to be honored and recognized by the city. I come to speak, and I hope this isn't intentional, but on the agenda you have the appropriations ordinance, which is actually the approval of the budget, which you have for the first reading. Now, generally, when people have the approval of the budget, what the council is recommending in terms of the itemized budget is available, and I found out that it's not in the packet. And also, when I went to the clerk's office, it's not available there. So I just wanted to point out to council, I hope this is available soon, because that's what people need, and they deserve the right to have what is itemized, what about the budget that's being passed, because that's an important part of the fiscal responsibility of this body. Now, what is in the packet is a abbreviation of the appropriation categories, and it was hastily put together because there are all these corrections handwritten. I mean, that doesn't look very official. It doesn't look like something that we should be able to depend upon for something that is so important. Now, just to follow along, so this is what's been done since you can look at all the budgets that have been posted before, and this is your third year doing budget. So, council, I don't know whether it's just because you don't have a finance director that this is done, but May 1st, by the charter, the mayor gives you his recommended budget, or her. That's what I did as well, and every other mayor before us. The council has been meeting, and they can indicate what changes they want made. And I hope there's some changes that have been made, because the budget that the mayor gave us with the 5-year projections showed that we followed this line of spending on page 115 in the budget that they gave us. That's a mayor-approved budget. We're going to be bankrupt in 2 years. So get that information
That
to
concludes
us.
your time.
Mr. Brent Reynolds.
Good evening, Council. I'd like to actually speak on number 9, mainly on the master plan. What I'm concerned about is we seem to have lip service to community engagement. We have lip service to transparency. We have lip service to the citizens having a voice. We have no mechanism in the city to communicate with our council and with our mayor that is free and open. We used to have CDCs in this town, CCDCs rather. We had one for each district. I attended during the emergency manager, the CDCs were still meeting and making recommendations to their council members. We need to reinstate that desperately. We can't go ahead and just do a master plan without having real input from the citizens. These town halls don't work. We need something more tangible, something more real. I also just wanted to mention, I don't know if this is the place, agenda address, but I don't know where to get an agenda packet. I was at the clerk's office this afternoon at 4:20 to get a packet, and I noticed it was 4:20 because people think that's a funny pot joke. But it was 4:20, and there were no agenda packets available. And a very nice person, Mary Castro, advised me that I could go upstairs and try to find the agendas and the sign-in sheets. And she referred me, me to going upstairs. A very nice Alicia Martin helped me find the sign-in sheets that were here in the council chambers. But I don't know where I was going to have time to review the agenda packet. So that, to me, is just, I don't know if it's an oversight, it's a problem. And I'm also very unhappy with our minutes. Our minutes are very vague. They don't.
Hey, sir, I've been very lenient.
No, thank you.
So, all right, thank you.
I see 3 more seconds.
Yep.
2, 1.
Mr. Carlton Jones. Ms. Darlene Clark.
Good afternoon, Council Administration. 17 and 22 is my Concern Beautification Award plus the parks hiring. In your on your ordinance, you said that the administration has made it very clear that no property grass owners should get over 8 inches high. In the park on the corner of Montana and Franklin, not Franklin, Motor Street in Montana, there's a park. The park is very concerning. Next to that park is 515. The address is 2 empty lots combined together. The grass is well over 5, this is the grass, well over 8 inches. It's about 5 feet or more, 10 feet high. The kids with the park is next to the park. If those kids are out there in that park, somebody can take and rape a child next to that park. The debris, I have brought it to the city council, I have brought it to the administration, I have been bringing it before anybody who would listen. So I say to you, as you pass out the Pride and Beautification Award, look at this park. Look at that address at 515. If you think your child can play in that park with that debris next door, then I applaud you. If you don't think that that grass is not appropriate for your kids, it's definitely not appropriate for District 1 kids.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. President McGinnis, let's conclude agenda address.
All right, we're at number 3 on this evening's agenda for ordinances. It's second reading. It's postponed from last week. It's adoption of an ordinance to amend the City of Pontiac zoning ordinance to amend requirements for adult-use marijuana retail establishments in designated overlay districts and to ensure consistency between the adult-use marijuana business license ordinance and the adult-use marijuana zoning ordinance. So it was already moved and seconded last week. It does not need a new move and second. It returns now. Mayor and Administration, you have the floor for additional context.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I'll turn it over to our planning manager, Mark Yandrick. This item, I'll just by way of introduction, this item was introduced last week, and I know that there was some discussion last week over the number of grow and processing facilities allowed. The original package of ordinances approved by City Council for recreational marijuana had both a business ordinance and a zoning ordinance in it. And there was some contradictory language between the two of those two ordinances. The business ordinance did not officially cap the number of grow and processing facilities and simply restricted the number through zoning. The zoning ordinance did cap the number at 3. And so we need to resolve that conflict. We are proposing to resolve that conflict by not capping the number per se in the zoning ordinance, but actually making the zoning much more stringent and restricting the location of grow and processing facilities only to industrial parcels so that we can better keep it away from neighborhoods. And with that, I'll turn it over to our planning manager, Mark Yandrick.
That was a wonderful introduction. Thank you. I'm going to give a very high level. While this has been presented before, I do have one extra slide highlighting what the mayor just announced. But this is a city-wide, city-initiated zoning text amendment for adult-use marijuana regulations in the city. These was the first and second reading. Tonight at June 4th, we're additionally reading this a second time. These ordinances are meant to align, and there are no proposals to modify the City of Pontiac municipal ordinance that was part of the voter-approved referendum on February 27th of 2024. Now, the proposal tonight is two things. Number one is prohibit green of signage and facade of adult-use marijuana businesses. This aligns with the existing ordinance that bans imagery and words that are related to a federally recognized drug. Green is an extension of the signage, and the prohibition of color protects the healthiness and aesthetics of our corridors. Now, the second item is the cleanup language from the original approval. So, again, highlighting some of these, we are striking some unnecessary summary paragraphs where the regulations are already covered elsewhere in the ordinance. We are aligning the zoning code for growers and facilities and processors that in the Cesar Chavez and East Walden overlay districts, they must be located in M1, M2, or IPD base zoning district with special exception approval required.
Third point, we're aligning the zoning code that the growers, facilities, and processors would allow unlimited facilities in those 2 overlay districts, and I'll explain that in a later slide. This would allow secure transporters in the following zoning districts to comply and align with the medical ordinance. That would be C3, which is corridor commercial, and then the 3 industrial districts, M1, M2, and IP1. And then the last bullet point on this slide is for retailers and social equity retailers. These amendments add that base zoning districts shall be located in the C2, which is downtown, C3, M1, and M2 base zoning districts, only in one of the 4 overlay districts, and this aligns with the medical ordinance. So the retailers and social equity retailers couldn't go in any zoning district. It would have to be in the downtown, a corridor commercial, or an industrial zone district. So continuing on, Article 3.1207A1 incorrectly summarizes the number of retail and social equity retail locations in the East Walden Overlay District. This amends that to align with what City Council ultimately adopted by motions in April of 2023 to say that there's 7 total for that overlay district. Article 3.1208 erroneously references residential dwelling units for distance buffers. While the medical marijuana ordinance had buffer distances to medical marijuana facilities, there are no such restrictions for adult use marijuana establishments, so the reference is unnecessary. I do want to mention that in the adult use ordinance that's already approved, there are some additional site design elements that create some additional buffers, including with landscaping and setback distances between residential properties. And then lastly, Class A microbusinesses are very similar to retailers and social equity retailers. So we already have specific design standards for the Woodward Overlay District, which is not in the medical marijuana overlay district. So there are specific design requirements there. But because microbusinesses are so similar to retailers and social equity retailers, these design standards, if approved, would also apply to Class A microbusinesses. As we mentioned last week, this is the East Walden or West Walden Overlay District area, general area, and this shading that you can see in the blue identifies where the overlay district is, and much of this is along the Walden corridor, but also again Highwood and some of the points to the north up here. At this time, any of these pink and maroon zone properties that are in the overlay district could have a grower and processor. And again, some of these are smaller facilities, but there's a lot of locations. So this, the staff's proposal to Planning Commission and ultimately to City Council is that this would really restrict that a grower and processor would only be located in industrial zone district. And that essentially is where we believe that these ultimately should go, because you might see these in larger warehouses and things that would be more aligned with the other land uses would be in that district. And as I showed last week, this is just showing the map of these areas right here where these facilities could possibly go. Now, one of the questions is, again, why, what's the risk with unlimited? So the business license, as it currently states, allows for unlimited growers and processors in both overlay districts, Cesar Chavez and the Walden overlay districts. However, the zoning ordinance restricts to 3 facilities per overlay district. And as we learned through the process since this was adopted, the state of Michigan, the state legislation requires that a scoring system be in place if there are more applications than permitted uses. Now, it doesn't have to be the scoring system that we currently have for medical or that we have getting ready to be outlaid for adult use, but there has to be some scoring system in place. There's one jurisdiction that has a lottery system, that can be used. And furthermore, because the business license section of the municipal code was adopted by referendum, as I mentioned, the city cannot amend this section to create that scoring system at this time. I think it's in approximately 16 months from now, we would be able to, 17 or 16 months, we would be able to amend the municipal code regarding adult use marijuana, but we cannot at this time. So currently, that facility, as I mentioned, can be in some of the commercial districts. This proposal restricts the sites just to the industrial zone properties only, which matches the medical marijuana ordinance. And I did want to clarify from last week, currently, the conditional licenses have been issued for medical marijuana grow and processor facilities. Of those, only one is in the Cesar Chavez district and only one is in the East Walden overlay district. So, there has not, for the medical, there has not been a large demand for these types of land uses. So staff's hope is that this would be restricted in the, there would not be the demand in the future that would create a burdensome overall. So with that, Planning Commission has recommended these text amendments 5-0, which with one condition, eliminating C2 as a permitted district with the safety, compliance, and secure transporters. Again, because those land uses a lot of times will have a lot of parked cars. It doesn't fit in with the downtown district. That's already updated in the ordinance you have before you. Everything else that is before you is formally recognized by Planning Commission, so there have been no changes necessarily from first or last week's readings. So that is my presentation. I'll be happy to entertain any questions you may have. And again, our municipal attorney is here if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Pro Tem Carrington.
Oh, yes, thank you, President McGinnis. Mark, your bullet point, go back to your bullet points. The bullet point, go back one more. Actually, again, right, well, I'll just read it. Well, you state for retailers, social equity retailers, these amendments add that the base zoning districts be located in the C2, C3, M1, and M2 base zoning districts only within one of the 4 overlay districts. This aligns with the medical ordinance. So please explain how this affects adult use marijuana ordinance.
So the only change is this provides some restrictions that, and I can explain this a little further. When this went through medical, there were some additional base zoning districts such as C1 and C4 that a medical facility could go to. What has happened now that we're in 2024 is of all the licenses that have gotten site plan approval from Planning Commission or conditional approval, all of these, we've had a few rezonings, and so all of those land uses or all those proposed medical marijuana facilities are in one of those 4 base zoning districts. And so I think what I mean by this aligns with the medical ordinance is the social equity and retail medical marijuana facilities are in these 4 base zoning districts. And so we're just aligning that with the adult use. So when the adult use takes effect, that not only do you have to be in an overlay district, you have to be in one of these 4 base zoning districts. And the reason we wanted to get away from C1 and C4 was because C1 is next to a lot of residential neighborhoods. There's a lot of closer proximity than some of the C3s. They're on some of the smaller streets. And we wanted to protect those neighborhoods, those blocks, those intersections from having marijuana in those districts. Furthermore, the C4 is suburban commercial, and that's where you get a lot of regional traffic, but also a lot more variety in terms of land uses. There might be kids that might be going to certain venues or businesses there, and we thought that those were a little bit more family friendly and not appropriate to have adult use marijuana in the C4 district. So that is really the change regarding that bullet point, and I hope that answers the question.
Okay, my follow-up question concerning the Woodward overlay. How does this affect those areas on the Woodward overlay?
Okay. Specifically, the only change that's here is that currently we do have specific design standards, again, some extra screening a little bit for especially those that are next to residential properties for retailers and social equity retailers. And when we were doing the analysis, we realized that Class A micro businesses are exactly, have a very similar appearance and traffic makeup. So we're really aligning with this. Class A micro businesses do not exist in the medical marijuana ordinance. So this is almost a new land use. And we felt that it was appropriate to align and have similar standards for similar land uses.
So in my follow-up, if I can, President McGinnis, concerning, I'm assuming that Woodward is, most of that area along Woodward is M1, M2?
It is a mix of M1 and C3. So there are a lot of properties that are zoned C3 in that district.
All right, thank you.
Great questions, thank you. Further deliberation on this second reading continued. So this is essentially the 3rd time we've been looking at this. Councilwoman James.
Yeah, I have a question on what additional restrictions does planning plan to put on those special permit requests?
Can you clarify that question? Do you mean, and let me just ask this, is it part of the Woodward Overlay District, or are we talking about the special exception?
We're talking about the Walton
okay.
overlay, and specifically those M1 and M2 zones that will require special exception permits to set up those businesses.
Awesome, thank you.
So what are the requirements? I mean, what restrictions are you planning to put on those applicants?
So for a interested party that gets a conditional approval from the city clerk's office, after that conditional approval, they would come to planning and they would apply for both a site plan and a special exception. This would be for any adult use marijuana, whether there was a medical approval or not. As part of the special exception process, this is heard by Planning Commission. And they will often hear both applications in the same meeting. It is a advertised public hearing, so everyone within 500 feet will be notified. There was also a requirement that City Council passed that a sign be placed on the site. Planning Commission is ultimately the one that reviews the special exception, and it is something that comes from state law, but it allows for Planning Commission to evaluate that land use in that location. Is this an appropriate location? Or is there any impact to traffic? Is there any impact to the health, safety, well-being of the neighborhood? And they have the ability not only to say yes or no to a land use, but they have the ability to put extra design requirements or extra site restrictions that may help protect some of those things I just mentioned to evaluate. So that is really Planning Commission's role in the special exception process. And if a user was coming in for a grower or processor in the Walden Overlay District.
Do they have any smell issues with these companies, with these businesses?
I'm going to defer to Morgan McAtamey with some of the state law on that, if I can defer that question to her.
Good evening, Council. So with regard to odors, there are specific regulations for all of our adult use marijuana businesses that require certain processes to deal with odor management. And also, when the Planning Commission is considering a special exception permit, one of the things that they can consider is whether or not the use involves activities, processes, materials, and equipment or conditions of operations that will be detrimental to any person, property, or general welfare as a result of producing excess traffic, noise, smoke, fumes, glare, or odors out of proportion to that normally prevailing in the particular district. So that is something that when considering a special exception permit, the Planning Commission can specifically consider.
Okay, my third question is, who monitors these businesses to ensure that they are in compliance? Because, you know, currently we approve the caregivers, and really at the time we approved that, there what really was not set up a process to manage caregiver businesses. And District 4 has had problems and is currently having problems with a caregiver due to odor and things of that nature. Who is going to monitor? Is it going to be the city, code enforcement? Is it going to be the state? Who will monitor to ensure these businesses will be in compliance?
Okay. Unfortunately, there is a difference under state law between medical marijuana uses and recreational marijuana uses. So part of the reason that both the state and the city are having some trouble with caregivers is because under the Medical Marijuana Act, there are very, very strict requirements that municipalities have to follow when they are using enforcement actions against a medical marijuana facility. Those are not the same for a recreational or adult use facility. And under our adult use ordinances, both as currently written and as would be adopted if you guys adopt this amendment tonight, there are very specific protections, and the city's code enforcement department would be investigating, and they would have the authority to enforce those.
So enforcement would come under the city?
Correct.
Code enforcement, okay.
That is correct. I apologize if you can't hear me. Normally I'm very loud, but I have a bit of a cold and don't want anyone to get sick, so I apologize.
Any further questions? Further deliberations from council? Hearing nothing further, speakers list exhausted. It's roll call on adoption of an ordinance to amend the city's zoning ordinance with changes to requirements for adult use marijuana retail establishments and designated overlay districts, and to ensure consistency between the adult use marijuana business license ordinance and the adult use marijuana zoning ordinance. It amends sections 2.204, 2.551 through 2.558, 3.1207, 3.1208, 3.1210, and section 3.1211 regarding adult use marijuana. Roll call, Deputy Clerk.
Nicholson,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Carrington,
Yes.
James,
No.
McGinnis.
Yes.
4 yeas, 1 nay.
All right, that motion carries, I believe. We are at, excuse me, I almost had a cough there. Number 4, is there a motion to adopt the resolution to approve the first reading of the City of Pontiac 2024-2025 Appropriations Act ordinance?
Moved by Carrington.
Is there a second?
I second.
All right, it's been moved by Pro Tem Carrington, seconded by Councilwoman James. So this is an ordinance. The annual budget for the City of Pontiac is in ordinance form, so it does require multiple readings. By the May 1st state and charter prescribed deadline, the mayor submitted their proposed budget. There were 3 budget review hearings, if you will, or special meetings that the City Council held in March. And there was also a public hearing on both the millage rates and the proposed budget that was held for the public to be able to provide feedback. So this is the first reading, really to start the formal final ball rolling. We will have a second reading next week, and next week is the intention where council will be offering up a litany of amendments to say yes or no, changes that we want to slice and dice, alter, and amend the proposed budget. And then once that is all collated, then the budget will have, it'll basically be an additional reading, a third reading informally at the June 18th meeting where it will be up for adoption. That's important because the state of Michigan has deadlines for when it needs to be submitted before the end of the fiscal year, which is June 30th, AKA this budget is for the new fiscal year that starts July 1st. And I want to say it's June 25th or so, we've got to submit it. So we can't wait until the last regularly scheduled meeting to do the final adoption. If something pushes this budget where it needs to have even further amendments, further details changed, that would be a need for a special meeting for the City Council to schedule it. So for the sake of the public and the council to make sure we have an adequate number and as strong as possible showing for it to be as strong as possible of a budget decision. We, of course, want it to be ideally adopted at June 18th. We must adopt a budget. If not, calamity ensues. So the question is, what's in the budget? What is the City Council going to authorize to allow for spending for the year to come? As you've probably seen, as the year goes through, amendments can be made. You know, life be life, and so there adjustments are able to be made throughout the course of the year. And before a fiscal year is done, there can be no specific general ledger account out of whack, where more was spent than was authorized or more came in than was. The budget needs to be adjusted before the dust settles on the end of every fiscal year. So we'll likely have another final round to make sure everything's settled so that way we're complying with reflecting the budget with reality and then adhering to what the state calls for, what the state requires of municipalities. So I just want to give that broad setting. So we have before us the broader ordinance elements that speak to the totals specifically, but as we're going through next week when we're making changes to specific line items and general ledger account numbers, we will be bringing back our respective binders that we have of all the general ledgers and further changes that will be made. So I just want to give that overview. This is to satisfy procedurally that it's been read for a first time and allows it to have that second reading next week where we'll dive into the guts and tear it up. Any further discussion on this first reading of the budget? Pro Tem Carrington?
So when would you asking us to have our amendments into you?
Well, the sooner the better, because as I have in past years, staff can work to make a visual, make it as organized as possible, because we don't want the community or council to have to sort of herky-jerk jump around because it's such a vast document. We'll try and make it so that it follows in order with the packet, the full binders of the budget proposal. That's ideal. It's not required. So, of course, if a revelation comes to us on the floor or debate percolate something up, we can always make further changes. But I would ask it, if possible, if it could be provided by this coming Friday, that would be ideal.
All right, thank you.
But it's not, if something comes over the weekend, we can work with that, but we want to try and build out for every council member's benefit an organized way to review the respective changes. And that could be adding money, but also just as importantly, that could be removing authorized spending, or essentially saying, you know what, it's not ready to pop yet. Let's do further research and review. Just because this tight sort of tunnel is barreling forward to us, I think it's most important that we get a strong budget that reflects the priorities of our citizens and taxpayers in a timely way, versus try and change everything at the last minute. Let's make it work, even if we have to take out important elements, because there still needs to be further research and review.
Thank you.
That's my working sense and assumption. All right. Further discussion on this first reading of the City of Pontiac 2024-2025 Appropriations Act ordinance. As a heads up to the community, this is also the time where we lift the hood each year on fees, cost of permits, cost of doing business with the city for a specific act. This is when the city council can make changes to that, lower those fees, make them more realistic, make them more realistic in the other way too. And so that is something that council members can, if any community member needs help finding that, council members can help point you in that direction as well, and we'll review those itemized as well in the future. All right, hearing no further discussion, roll call, Deputy Clerk, on approving the first reading, acknowledging that it's been banked and booked for a first time. Deputy Clerk.
Parker,
Yes.
Carrington,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Nicholson.
Yes.
5 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. That resolution acknowledging the first reading has been adopted. We're at number 5 on tonight's agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution to approve the first reading?
Moved by Carrington.
Is there a second?
Support.
Moved by Pro Tem Carrington, seconded by Councilman Nicholson. This would amend the city's municipal code purchasing ordinance. It's Chapter 6, Division 2, Section 2-517, subsection 5, definitions, and 2-528, contractors or vendors in default or indebted to the city. So it's been moved and seconded. It's now for debate. Any change to the city's ordinance requires 2 readings. So this is the first reading. This is a change that Councilwoman Rutherford was interested in seeing pursued, and she, the mayor, and the city's attorney joined with city council staff and leadership to pursue this question. So, Mayor Grimo, any further context you'd like to offer?
Yeah, thank you. I know I announced at the close of last meeting that we would be bringing this forward this week, and this is important. Our city ordinance that's been in place for a number of years about purchasing is quite strict in terms of who can contract with the city. And it prohibits the city from contracting with contractors, vendors who are indebted to the city and and otherwise not in compliance with certain city requirements. And it's important that obviously those who are receiving city contracts are following city ordinance, but we also want to make sure that we are working with those vendors who are acting in good faith, trying to do the right thing. And it's important to note that city-based businesses, especially those owned by city residents, often, as a practical matter, have additional requirements as a result of the fact that they're based here in Pontiac. For example, someone in Auburn Hills doesn't have to worry about being behind on their city taxes because they don't pay City of Pontiac taxes. So it makes it all the more important that we have some flexibility in our purchasing ordinance to work with those who are behind on their taxes or otherwise behind on payments owed to the city, because those people are actually based here in Pontiac, and we want to do more business with Pontiac-based businesses. And so this proposed amendment would allow the city to still enter into contracts with vendors so long as they are on payment plans and in compliance with those payment plans. And to walk us through some additional detail, we have our city attorney, Joanne Gurley, here.
Okay, there you go. Good evening, council members, mayor and deputy mayor, and residents who are here. As the mayor stated, that this amendment to the city's purchasing ordinance defines what default means, and that definition comes from the Attorney General's opinion on what that means. And as it reads here, default means at this time, means at the point in time the contract or appointment is to be made or given, the person has failed to meet a financial, contractual, or other obligation to the city after adequate notice of the obligation and an opportunity to cure it were provided to the person, and the obligation is not the subject of a pending judicial or administrative proceeding. So originally, there is no definition that clarifies what default means. The word is used in the ordinance, but it is not defined. And so that is one of the changes that's being made here. Also, as stated, under definitions, 2-517, subsection 5. The original entry stated that the bidder is not disqualified under section 2.528 pertaining to contractors or vendors in default or indebted to the city of this division. That language was stricken. And it was stricken because indebted could include, it's just as soon as your property tax bill comes out, as soon as you receive a citation, you are indebted, but you still have the right to appeal. It could be an error, so we seek to clarify what indebted is by striking it totally from this provision. And then the section that's in red does just that. It says that the bidder is not disqualified under section 2-528 pertaining to contractors or vendors in default to the city, or has entered into and is in compliance with an approved payment agreement and debt reconciliation plan between the bidder and the city to resolve a debt owed to the city by the bidder. And that really speaks to what the definition of default means, that you have to have notice and you have to have an opportunity to cure. So we're trying to provide that opportunity for a bidder to enter into some type of payment arrangement where we were reconciling whatever the debt is that's owed to the city. And it has to be an approved payment plan. And then under 2-528, contractors or vendors in default or indebted to the city, that area there, indebted, was stricken for the reasons that I stated earlier. So based on what we have here, as long as a contractor, potential vendor, sets up a payment plan that is approved by the city, depending on which department it is. It could be with Treasury if it's income tax. It could be with the building department if it's for, for code violations. It could be with that department. So that's what this ordinance, the ordinance amendments seeks to do. And I welcome any questions.
Thank you. Pro Tem Carrington?
Yes, thank you, President McGinnis. Actually, I don't have any questions, but I do want to thank you for your hard work in making sure that we look for ways to make sure that our citizens and residents have the opportunity to do business here in the city of Pontiac. So again, I commend everyone for their work on this particular amendment to this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Nicholson.
I wanted to ask before the next reading, could administration supply us with the payment plan provision? Like, what are the guidelines? I'm sure some of them are set by the Treasury, some of them are set by us. So I just wanted to make sure that each department has those guidelines that are set up prior to, we're going to require that they be approved, but I want to make sure that they have a written set of standards.
Yeah.
Mayor Grimo.
That is very important, and I know our city attorney has been working on that. I think her thought is that that should be added to the city ordinance, but I'll allow her to speak for herself on that.
Well, actually, because there are so many different moving parts, I would not recommend adding it to the ordinance, but that it would, in fact, be a policy where, you know, the requirements could be different for code enforcement because it may not be as high as someone's income tax. So I agree that we do need a policy so that it's fair and that it is applied properly and the bidder or contractor knows exactly what the expectations are. It will take, I think, a little bit longer to actually present that policy by next week.
Any further discussion on this first reading? Councilwoman James, microphone.
Yeah, I second Councilman Nicholson's concerns. We definitely appreciate, you know, the clarification on that word default and all the work that you've done. But to go along with that, we need written policy that spells out what you're calling opportunity to cure. That has to be in writing, and it needs to be at the department level. So if this can happen, the Treasury and a different set of circumstances for code enforcement, then it sounds like it should be a departmental responsibility to develop those policies and to have those policies as part of the department's, you know, responsibilities. So it sounds to me like it would fall under those individual department heads.
Mayor Grimo.
Well, I guess from my perspective, at least, it depends on what Councilwoman James means by that, because I do think we want to make sure that departments are treating people the same, and so one department doesn't have one contracting policy that says a payment plan looks like this and another department has a conflicting one. On the other hand, obviously different departments handle different debts. So Treasury typically handles real property for taxes, whereas the income tax division deals with the income tax. So I guess I would defer to the city attorney about how to put together that policy, but I do want to make sure that we have a consistent city policy so that all potential vendors are being treated the same and we don't have different departments treating them differently.
I would agree with that. For example, depending on what the outstanding debt is, that it would be settled within a certain time frame, that would be pervasive among the departments. What default would look like at that point if you miss one payment, if you're a day late or if you're 10 days late. Those kinds of issues need to be across the board. So I would like to look at that just to work with the department so that we are all in agreement as to what these payment plans, the basics of the payment plans would look like.
Councilwoman James.
Well, then could we possibly, President McGinnis, put this on the agenda maybe for the next 2 months, or give time to the administration to work through the details of what those opportunities to cure look like, and, so that we can make sure that we don't drop the ball and not do this. We need to get this done.
Okay. Well, this is the first reading, so maybe what we do is next week we have the second reading come up, give them a week to assess how much time they might need, and then we could postpone that second reading for X weeks, or maybe they found that there's a way that it can be swiftly done, or it can be effectively done, and it'll be ready to roll at that next week's meeting for the second reading. Does that sound okay?
Okay.
All right. Further discussion on this first reading? So you've heard that feedback from council members on what further information and structure and consistency they're looking for to be comfortable to enact this, because this would be the standard enactment that after adoption by the city council, it would essentially be active 10 days or something like that afterwards. So we don't want to create this purgatory of on paper, it's the ordinance, but in practice, to be determined kind of thing. All right, thank you. Hearing no further discussion, speakers list exhausted. Roll call, Deputy Clerk, on adoption of the resolution to approve this first reading.
Carrington,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Nicholson.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
5 yeas, no nays.
Motion carries. Resolution is adopted. We're at number 6. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution to schedule a public hearing? Is there a second?
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Nicholson, seconded by Councilman Parker. This would schedule a public hearing at our regular city council meeting of June 18th, so 2 weeks from now, for the city to enter into an option agreement with Sinair Solutions Corporation for the sale of Purdue School. It's located at 25 South Sanford Street in Pontiac, and that parcel identification number is 64-14-28-455001. Mayor Grimal.
Yeah, thank you. I realize that tonight's vote is just voting to schedule a public hearing, so I don't want to get into all the weeds. I know that our Economic Development Manager, Deborah Younger, is planning to present some additional details the evening of the public hearing. But the crux of this is that there is a housing developer who is interested in acquiring the old Purdue school site, and redeveloping it into a multifamily housing complex and project. So we're excited about that opportunity. Obviously, in order to move forward with that opportunity, there needs to be first a public hearing on the possibility of conveying that property to the housing developer, and that's what's before council tonight.
Thank you. And so at that time, the council's expectation is that the community have the benefit of the scope of the proposal. What's the sale amount? What are the terms? What's the meat and potatoes of the option? That'll be shared with the community prior to us then opening up for question, feedback, concerns during that public hearing. Mayor Grimal.
Yeah, and I've had that conversation with Manager Younger, and she anticipates that she will have the meat and potatoes of the proposed agreement ready for review by council and the community by that date.
Okay. Any further discussion? Again, this would be the scheduling of that public hearing. That would not necessarily mean we'd be voting on that option that night, although it's possible, but we want to make sure that we post the public hearing now, gives the appropriate time, and that would be 2 meetings from now to give that appropriate time to satisfy the posting for that public hearing. Hearing no further discussion, roll call, Deputy Clerk, on the motion to approve the resolution to schedule that public hearing.
Carrington,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Nicholson.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
5 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The resolution is adopted, and that public hearing will be set for that evening. All are welcomed. We're at number 7. Bless you again. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution to schedule that public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Councilman Nicholson, seconded by Councilwoman James. This schedules on that same night at the same regular city council meeting of June 18th that there'd be the prospective sale of vacant city-owned lots for redevelopment. Mayor Grimal, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. This similarly is to schedule a public hearing. In this case, it's a public hearing on the sale of 5 vacant lots to a developer who intends to build 4 houses on those 5 lots. And so it's pretty straightforward.
Okay, so the resolution that we'd be considering right now that schedules the public hearing does specify what we're talking about. So I'll just highlight that. And actually, could I please have a motion to amend the resolution, the second, whereas says Walton Street, and that's a typographical error, it should be Walnut Street. Could I please have a motion to amend that second whereas?
So move as read.
Is there a second?
Second. Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Nicholson, seconded by Councilman James, that in the second whereas the resolution, we strike Walton and replace with Walnut. Hearing no further discussion, roll call, Deputy Clerk, on that amendment to the resolution before us.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Nicholson.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Carrington.
Yes.
5 yeas, no nays.
Okay, that motion carries, so we're now looking at the resolution as amended. The second, the whereas that follows does correctly identify Walnut Street, and it says the addresses and the parcel numbers that I'll read. It's also in the exhibit that accompanies the resolution. So we're talking about 17 Walnut Street, a parcel ID number of 1432-133006, 21 Walnut Street, 1432-133007, 29 Walnut Street, 1432-133009, 33 Walnut Street, 1432-133010, and 28 Walnut Street, 1432-133011. Those longer digits that are reading is the parcel identification number or PIN number that shows the legal parcel. But we're talking about Walnut Street. 4 of them are on the same side of the street. One's on the opposite side of the street. The narrative that the administration provided a little more information, but we're talking about homes of varying price points, but these look to be single-family homes that would be offered for sale after being developed in the community. But currently, those parcels, those vacant parcels of land near Rotary Park are owned by the city of Pontiac. And so they belong to all of us, the citizens. So it's up to us to see if we are willing to sell it. All right. Any further clarity or discussion needed on that resolution setting that public hearing? Hearing none, roll call, Deputy Clerk, on adoption of the resolution.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Nicholson.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Carrington.
Yes.
5 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The resolution is adopted. That public hearing is set for that evening. We're at number 8 now. It was moved and seconded last week and postponed from the city council meeting, so it doesn't need a motion in a second. But this would be to enter into a contract agreement with DLZ to perform a cost proposal to the city of Pontiac for park facilities condition assessments. We're talking about bathrooms in our major parks. Mayor Greimel.
Yeah, thank you, President McGinnis. We started talking about this agenda item last week, and this is an important first step to getting bathrooms up and operating in our major parks again. It's been many years since we had fully functioning, fully open bathrooms in our major community parks. And before we make some final decisions about how to construct those or how to otherwise ensure that they're back up and operating, we wanted to first do an assessment on the existing bathrooms to see if any of them are worth saving or whether we need to demolish all of them and build new. And it may depend on the bathroom and it may depend on the park. So this is all about doing that initial assessment on the existing bathrooms in our major community parks. I know there were some questions raised last week about JC Park, and I know that our team has done quite a bit of research into that. And so without further ado, I want to turn it over to our Parks and Recreation Director, Terrence Price, and I know he has here to answer any questions and provide any additional information, Zach Hoppola of DLZ.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to piggyback off of that. Really, the main question that was going on from last week is the questions about JC Park. We got quite the history lesson last week of some things that has happened before in the past with JC Park, and we wanted to come and give an update of the report. So with JC Park, it does belong to the city of Pontiac. JC Park does belong to the city of Pontiac. The last written agreement that JC Park had expired in 2021, and even in that agreement, it stated that anything that was built on that property belongs to the city of Pontiac. So we do own 2 baseball fields there. The restroom that is on site there was built in 1963. So we want to thank our clerk for all the information they've been able to provide us. If you have any other questions or any other things that we need to know about with these parks, please let us know. Thank you.
Well, happy 61st birthday to that very mature bathroom facility. All right, so we thank you for the research that you and others did to delve into that. That's very helpful context. So we are debating on whether to pursue this assessment. Further deliberations from council. Councilman Parker.
I think I already know the answer, but let me just be clarified. I noticed that Galloway was not mentioned in this. That's because it's already been done for Galloway?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Pro Tem Carrington?
Yeah, just a quick statement. I was just wondering, is it any kind of, can you build these or with these assessments determine how they, making sure they're safe for the community, especially children, when it comes to, I know we don't have the resources to put a staff person there at these parks on a daily basis. So I'm just wondering, with this assessment, would they be trying to decide of how these bathrooms can be safe for the community?
Well, the main part of the assessment is to kind of assess what we already have. So looking down at the underground system, the piping and that sort of thing. So if we wanted to, say we wanted to put a bathroom in for the wintertime, a heated floor, making sure we have the right things in place to be able to do that. So first we assess exactly what's been there before, what is there. Once we know that, then we can kind of help us in deciding what amenities that we want to provide in that particular bathroom for that park.
All right, thank you.
Mayor Grimel?
Yes, what our Parks and Rec Director has said is absolutely true, but I do want to just answer the question that you've posed, Pro Tem Carrington, because it's an important point, and that, although it's not part of the assessment contract, is in essence part of the other contract that was approved a week ago, which is hiring DLZ to do the concept design work and then the design engineering work in those major community parks, because they're going to take this information from the bathroom assessment and then decide, hey, do we reconstruct these bathrooms? Do we renovate these bathrooms? Do we build new bathrooms? And as they look to do that, they will be looking at what kinds of bathrooms do we want in terms of their layout, in terms of whether they have closed doors, open arrangements where people have to walk through, a little bit of a maze to get into the bathroom. There are lots of different layouts, and all of those considerations will be rooted in the health and safety of our residents, especially our young people. So that is something that will be considered, just not part of this contract, part of the contract that council approved last week.
Further discussion on the motion before us? Hearing no further discussion, speakers list is exhausted. Roll call, Deputy Clerk, on adoption of the resolution to enter into a contract agreement with DLZ to perform a cost proposal to the City of Pontiac for park facilities condition assessments.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Nicholson, Parker,
Yes.
Carrington,
Yes.
James.
Yes.
4 yeas, no nays.
Motion carries. Resolution has been adopted. We're at number 9. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution awarding the master plan update contract to McKenna Associates?
Moved by Carrington.
Is there a second? It's been moved by Pro Tem Carrington, seconded by Councilman Parker. So now we can debate the resolution awarding the master plan update contract to McKenna Associates. Mayor Grimel.
Yeah, thank you. We've obviously been talking for some time about the importance of updating the city's master plan, and Manager Yandrick and his team have been doing some of the foundational work to set the stage for really diving fully into the master planning process. And really the last preparation stage of that is hiring an outside consulting firm to really help us do that master plan process. And that's what's before City Council tonight, is a proposal to hire McKenna Associates to assist that process and really make sure that we're driving forward in a meaningful way that embraces community input and make sure that we have adequate community input, as well as doing a lot of the substantive policy work in terms of putting together some master plan options for consideration. And with that, I'll turn it over to Manager Yandrick.
Thank you again. Good evening, Council. The city went forward with an RFP process starting in February. We had 4 bid proposals, and tonight's staff, through that RFP process, has selected McKenna & Associates to complete the master plan contract. As part of the RFP, it is a 9-month process, which is a little quick for a master plan process, but we really wanted to get this off the ground, get some direction for the city to move forward with some of our goals and strategies. And we previously, as part of the scope of services, identified 7 areas. 1, neighborhoods and housing. 2, development and redevelopment strategies. 3, workforce development. 4, transportation, transit, walkability, and mobility. 5, downtown and commercial corridors. 6, future land use plan. And 7, historic preservation. We're very excited to hopefully be working with McKenna if this contract is approved. They have an excellent reputation with the planning community, and we're excited about the services that they would be bringing to Pontiac. While they are going to be facilitating the process, the city is really needing to engage with our community leaders, our community residents, to really provide that input to come with a vision. And McKenna's an expert at helping to facilitate what that vision will be. And the goal of this is not going to cover everything that Pontiac needs. The goal of this is really to set the base that as a foundation that once approved, we can use this to start creating more specific plans in the future and really identify certain aspects we need to plan for the future of Pontiac. So with that, I want to introduce Laura Haw. She's with the McKenna & Associates out of their Northville office, and if you have any questions for her, or if you want to introduce yourself to the council.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Laura Haw. I'm a vice president of McKenna and the proposed project manager for this master plan undertaking. And I just want to recognize that this is a really important step for the city moving forward. It's been 10 years, right, since your master plan was last updated in 2014. And this is very necessary, not just to meet the requirements of state law, but it's an opportunity to really listen to the community, listen to residents and business owners, and set that vision moving forward. So looking forward to kicking off this project, hopefully in just a couple weeks. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you for being here this evening. Any deliberations from council? Councilwoman James?
Yes. Could you just give us a little synopsis of how you plan to go about community engagement?
Yes, that is a great question and an important one. Almost a third of this project budget is devoted to community engagement. And we're going to be taking direction from the city. We're here to facilitate a transparent public engagement process. We want to understand what has worked well historically, what hasn't worked well. We'll be developing a communications plan, making sure that any events or engagement opportunities are well publicized and available to community members. We've devised 3 steering committees, one on neighborhoods, the business community, and then a third focused on downtowns, and that will meet throughout the process. We also have 9 city events planned, including town halls throughout the process as touch points. We will be offering some virtual engagement as well, if that is something that the city is interested in. And we plan to attend 8 planning commission and city council meetings. So you'll be seeing our faces a lot, the members of our team. We'll also have monthly check-in meetings with the city administration to make sure that we are reaching those in the community that we need to.
Thank you, Laura. I just wanted to add on, as part of this McKenna proposal, they are partnering with two firms, so sub-consultants. One is Bob Gibbs, just having to do with retail market analysis to really provide data to the community for the master plan process. But to Councilwoman James's question, they are also partnering with Elnora Ostel of the E. Ostel Associates as well, specifically for the community engagement within this process. So.
You said there were 3 steering committees. I think I missed one. Business downtown, and what was the other one?
Oh, neighborhoods.
Neighborhood. Thank you. I'm just want to just be very clear that we absolutely have to nail community engagement and getting the residents involved in this plan. We have not had the best feedback from our residents in terms of having that community engagement. And so for a master plan, I'm going to be looking very closely at administration and in the expectation that we are going to get the key people in our community involved in this process so that they feel that it is their plan. You know, this plan will belong to the city. It's not going to belong to the experts. It belongs to the people. And I'm really going to depend on administration to do a good job of making our residents feel like they own this plan. It's not our plan, it's their plan.
Thank you. Could the Vice President from McKenna share other communities from Michigan or beyond that you have done master plan update processes for?
Yes. Most recently, the City of Birmingham, City of Royal Oak, the City of Benton Harbor, City of East Point, and that also included a special corridor plan for their 9-mile district. The Village of Lake Orion.
And this council has awarded to the firm the administration's proposal for the housing study as well. Can you give a perspective on how that would be an integrated effort or an effort to maximize the work that will be done concurrently, specifically studying our housing needs as we plan for the future?
Yes, that is a critical component of a master plan, especially one of the goals that we noticed in your RFP was that you need the master plan to align with the redevelopment ready communities, the RRC best practices, and housing is one of those areas. When we look at the plan from 2014, we noticed that there's really a gap when it comes to housing. So that housing study and the extra effort that the city is investing in that process will be extremely important to tie into the master plan. So there's a lot of efficiencies, synergies between the two. There's a whole public engagement process as part of that study as well that will help augment the public engagement for this.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion before us? Councilman Parker.
Yes, briefly. Mr. Yandrick, how many other companies applied for?
We actually had 61 that actually pulled down the RFP, but we only had 4 bids, and those are listed. There should be a score sheet in the packet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any final deliberation? Hearing nothing further, speakers list is exhausted. Madam Deputy Clerk, roll call and adoption of the resolution awarding master plan update contract to McKenna Associates. Again, this is number 9 in our agenda tonight, and I'm intentionally stalling so that way I can look up something for the community's benefit. I want to give a price scope that we're
128,000.
125?
128.
128. So $128,000, $128,600 is the not to exceed amount for 9 months of work for the updating of the city's master plan in collaboration with the city staff. All right, hearing nothing further, roll call, Deputy Clerk, on adoption of the resolution.
Nicholson?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Carrington?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
5 yeas.
That motion carries. The resolution is adopted. Thank you very much for your time tonight. We are at public. All right. We got a planning commissioner who is a part of the 2014 master plan who is ready to sink their teeth into a comprehensive and constructive update. Thank you, Mr. Northcross. All right, we're at public comment. Pro Tem Carrington, any requests tonight?
Yes, Karen Jergensen, I don't see her. Dr. Waterman is no longer here. Brent Reynolds.
Thank you. I have a lot of concerns. I have a book actually full of them. But heavy on my heart today is the shooting on West Huron Street between Waldo and Dakota. I have a house on Dakota. That's my block. And we have AK-47s, pew, 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 at 10:52 p.m. on a Friday night, within a stone's throw of my house, within a stone's throw of many residents of the city. This is an epic fail. This is an epic fail of code enforcement. Code enforcement, for 8 weeks, this illegal operation has been running out of that location. There's no attention to business licenses in the city. The Huron Plaza is a crime magnet, just like Webster School has been a crime and blight magnet for years. The deputies are tired of being called to these locations. The deputies tell you we should march on City Hall if we want better care in the neighborhood. I'm telling you, the city has blood on its hands, the blood of its citizens. It's on the floor of that building where I walked past that evening. We walk our dogs there. We walk our dogs around Webster School. We see the blight at Webster Community Center. Webster Community Center had a cease and desist, a stop work order for having no demo permit. That was on May 9th. A week before, people in hard hats and ceremonial shovels danced around in front of the building. They had no demo permit. We're just fed up. The people in District 2, the people in Indian Village are coming together. We're looking at the power of CDC. We need to have CDCs in the city. We have to have a voice in the master plan. Councilwoman James, I thank you for taking a stand on that, but representation of each district is imperative. We have no representation, little representation in District 2. We've had an absentee council person, and now we have District 1 suffers the same fate with absentee Melanie Rutherford, who often has to recuse herself from votes without ever explaining why. So I have pages. 22 North Shirley Court is a code enforcement. Too much grass left behind by the mowing company that was brought in to mow the grass. It's killing everything. Rodents are living in the grass. The woman next door asked me, could I please try to get that code violation taken care of? It was cleared by code enforcement as having been mowed on the 19th. It was 4 feet tall on the 26th. It did not grow 4 feet overnight. 704 West Huron, I talked to the deputy about it. We had a good conversation. There is a real problem there, and it has to do with apathy in the neighborhood. I know I only have 4 seconds, so I will leave it at that, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
Could you give that address again for the tall grass? I think I misheard the street.
It's an empty lot. It's 22 North Shirley.
Shirley?
I believe it's North Shirley.
Okay, so in District 7?
District 7.
Okay.
And the next door neighbor keeps a very nice house, and she called me in tears. She's so sick of it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. Mr. Carlton Jones.
Yeah, good evening. Yeah, it's golf season, so I hated I missed the agenda address, but I do league on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but I'm glad to be back down here again. I want to speak to a couple things tonight. Workforce development, if you guys were listening, was rolled into the master plan. And I wanted to speak on just to that. And I think it's very important that we do our master plan, but waiting for that master plan for workforce development is not going to cut it, guys. I'm just going to say to you, we cannot continuously to wait. Every time that we are talking about okaying a contract, we should have some internship. We have something. We can get architects. We can get planners. We can get engineers. If we require folks when they come here and we give them contracts to engage the community, that's workforce development. We have to. We have to take a strong stand to that. Right now, I'm working real hard on putting together something that I think can be fantastic, and put a little bit of it out. I'm working on a Greens Job Hub for Pontiac, that we can be the hub for creating the green job community. TDC is driving this, and we hopefully that we can get the support from the mayor, the administration, because it's going to be something real great for the city of Pontiac. But I want to say that if we get these people coming in, I have nothing against McKinnon, I know that company, but what we have to be real careful with is, if you notice, the companies that come in, they don't know the city. Councilman James, you were absolutely right. We should be owning that stuff, but what'll happen is you will have these folks who come in here, they have put these hearings together. Citizens don't always show up. They get paid now, whether somebody come out or not. But they want to come in and get information, but we don't, no incentive for us to come and give them all the information that they're getting paid for. So we should require for them to have some kind of engagement process in subbing some of these areas and workforce development. I don't necessarily need to come and tell them all the workforce development we doing. They don't know. I'm not knocking it, but we just got to get a little smarter in how we look at moving our city for economic development with our people. We have to. But I want to just say this. As we put these pieces together, let's do not delay for the economic side of our people. I've talked before about the per capita income for Pontiac. In comparison to the state, we are it's about 20,000 to 60,000. That is a key element we have to improve. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Ms. Darlene Clark.
Once again, good afternoon, Council and Administration. I have two topics I want to speak of tonight. I need the administration, the mayor or deputy mayor, please to explain to the public. Last year you had repair work on Franklin Road to repair the road, in which you did a good job. But then this year you said that you would go ahead and you had to do the pothole covers, whatever those things are. But the question is now that street is blocked off. That street is causing massive confusion with drivers coming through there. And I've spoken on this once before, but now it's getting very bold where the trucks at United Mortgage is actually moving the barriers just to drive the trucks through instead of taking the route that's instrument for them to go. I think I have called DPW on it today. It's a continuous situation, but the bigger problem is there's no construction or work being done on Franklin Road. Please explain to the public what is your plans and why the continuous shutdowns with cones in the way when traffic cannot flow fairly. Secondly, I do want to talk to this about the overgrown grass. In Pontiac, it's become the most hated place, a dangerous place to come in after 9 a.m. There has been 66 rapes. There has been 585 aggressive assaults in the city of Pontiac. This overgrown grass that we have, I guarantee you, explain to the public what is the problem when having these investors cut their lots. Mayor, you said if it's 8 inches over that you would cut it and then build them. Pontiac is all over, both sides, from the south side, east side, Main Street, you name it, overgrown grass. There's no activities. The public deserves to know what's going on. Also, please explain to the public what is your agenda in moving forward in trying to get organization within the community? You have the traffic going through the neighborhoods, and then the trucks are truly disturbing these neighborhoods. Truly, it's bouncing through, especially on the south side. And I can testify because I live on the south side. So please give clarity and explanation to what's going on.
Ms. Clark, can I just clarify, what time period are you referencing, the 66 incidents?
Within the year, the first year, this 2024.
You said 9 a.m. and 9 a.m. or 9
I'm sorry, thank you. This the most dangerous place to live after, here it is right here. Most dangerous, the 10th, the Pontiac, Michigan, the most dangerous place to visit after dark. It says 9 p.m. A population of 59. Crime rate 769. Murders 10. Rapes 66.
Can you share the source? Is that a website or?
It's on the news app.
News app, okay. We'll look further into that. Thank you.
That concludes public comment, President McGinnis.
Thank you, Pro Tem Carrington. We are at discussions. The first up, just a friendly reminder that the Pride and Beautification nominations are open for residents and businesses. You can nominate yourself now through June 30th. Any discussion from council? Pro Tem Carrington.
Please make sure if you nominate yourself that your house deserves a sign, please. I hate to be the one that not place a sign in your yard for you just sending and nominating your house that don't meet the standards. Thank you.
Yes, we do look into this. Any further discussion? And thank you to City Council members and City Council staff. In the years and decades before, this is a long-running, decades-long tradition in our city, and we're proud to keep carrying the baton forward on that. Hearing no further discussion, the next discussion, essentially an FYI, but SMART, following the vote to expand transit investment and options in Oakland County. In recent years, they have announced as of this month there is yet another new route that impacts Pontiac. The route is 759, so you can think of 59 as it relates to Highland Road or M59. This route will run from White Lake to Auburn Hills along Highland Road and M59. And again, that starts this month. So it's got service to the White Lake Marketplace. I think that's kind of a shopping complex that has a large number of big box stores. The Meyer in Waterford, McLaren Oakland Hospital in downtown Pontiac, Oakland University in Auburn Hills, and more. So we just want to make sure the community knows about that expanded route option that has now come online. Any further discussion on that? All right, we'll keep providing information for residents on those resources. Number 12. Priority Waste. I saw in the news on Friday that Priority Waste, another waste hauling provider in the region, has announced the purchase of GFL, the current waste management contract holder for the city of Pontiac. Their Southeast Michigan operations are being purchased. So I wanted to ask the administration, what do we know so far and what that might mean for trash collection in Pontiac? Mayor Greimel, anything that we know so far?
Well, this, I think, came as news to all of us last week, and what we know is what you described, which is that GFL, or at least the portion of GFL that does residential curbside waste collection, to be a little more specific. It's not all of GFL, but in terms of our interactions with GFL, it might as well be all of GFL because it's all of their residential curbside garbage collection. Is being acquired by Priority Waste. And that doesn't necessarily mean a lot for us because our contract with GFL was slated to expire by June 30th of this year anyway, and we don't anticipate anything happening before that. I hesitate to stray into the next agenda item, but we are in the process of selecting a vendor, a contractor to serve as our garbage collection pickup service provider beginning July 1st. We had received 3 bids for that. One was from GFL, one was from Priority Waste, and a third was from Titan. And obviously now GFL and Priority Waste merging means that, well, we're not crystal clear on what it means. There are 2 interpretations. They put in different bids. So there, I suppose, is a question as to, well, if we were to select one of those bids, would either of those 2 bids be honored by Priority Waste? Having said that, we probably wouldn't go with the GFL bid anyway for a variety of reasons. And so as a practical matter, we probably have 2 bids from which to choose, and we're currently assessing those and anticipate bringing a proposal before council, probably not this coming Tuesday, but the following Tuesday.
Any further discussion about the priority waste announcement? All right, I'm going to quickly segue into the next discussion. Because I thought they might have separate implications, I did make them separate. But so with the approaching expiration of the current trash collection contract, what is the administration's strategy for more modern and cost-effective services and the timely request of solicitation for proposals for the city's future trash collection services? So the mayor has spoken to that a bit, but I want to give more opportunity, and also really relevant for city council. Does this have any prospective ramifications for the setting of our budget? Might that timeline be too tight, or might be too soon after the fact? We'll put this budget to bed and then see if there's any implications in the future, but any early tea leaves you can share with council.
Yeah, absolutely. And I didn't want to stray too far into this item, but yes, I appreciate the opportunity to speak in a little more detail here. I think our residents care deeply about two things. One is reliable pickup. We've had a lot of challenges with our historic trash providers missing addresses, missing neighborhoods entirely, or missing blocks entirely. So I think the single most important concern that I've heard from residents is about the quality, meaning dependability, reliability, they actually pick it up. But also, on a related note, I've heard a lot of desire from residents to have not just once every 2 weeks bulk pickup, but to have bulk pickup every week. And so, for example, we have long had a situation in the city where every week there is refuse pickup in the cans, but if somebody puts a mattress out on their yard by the garbage cans, that's not necessarily something that is picked up every week, but rather every 2 weeks. So I have heard a lot of desire from folks to have bulk pickup every week, just like typical garbage pickup. The other concern, of course, is affordability. People may be willing to pay a little bit more for better service, but they certainly don't want to pay a lot more because obviously we have a lot of residents who live on fixed incomes in our community. That has become even more sensitive as we've seen a lot of inflation in the general economy, and people's budgets are more squeezed now than ever. And so we want to be sensitive to the prices that people pay. The way, to answer the president's question about the budget, the way that our garbage financing or garbage pickup financing has worked in the city is that there is a sanitation millage in the city. That is a tax that is on the tax rolls that property owners pay, and anything not covered by that is then an additional assessment on individuals' homes who receive garbage pickup through the city contractor. So there wouldn't necessarily, assuming we follow that model in the future, there wouldn't be any effect on the city's budget other than perhaps the sanitation fund, but that sanitation fund is a self-contained fund that is funded through the sanitation millage. And I probably should also mention, in the past at least, it has been funded by rental of the old Collier Road landfill by GFL. So they have effectively paid into that sanitation fund, or put a different way, that's been deducted from the amount charged to the city by GFL, has been the rent that they pay to use that Collier Road landfill. And we did invite the bidders to indicate whether or not they intend to use the Collier Road landfill, and if so, how much they would pay to use it. And I should clarify, the Collier Road landfill is no longer open as a landfill. So when I talk about GFL using it as a location, when I talk about us inviting bidders to indicate whether they would want to use it and how much they would pay for it, that is as a transfer station, meaning it's where the garbage collection trucks go and then transfer that waste into much larger trucks that then take it to a landfill. So the Collier Road landfill has long been closed as a landfill. It's not like trash is still being buried there, but it has been operated for a number of years as a waste transfer station. And that's what the city has been getting revenue for, that helps fund the cost of the curbside garbage collection and helps reduce that cost on our homeowners. And we have invited the bidders to indicate whether they want to continue to use it as a waste transfer station and how much they would be willing to pay.
Further discussion from council members on this item? All right, so City Council is eager to hear as that unfolds to make sure that for citizens we're maximizing this opportunity. For everyone that wasn't aware, this has been a contract for at least, even if it wasn't with GFL, but 20 years. When the city's back was against the wall financially, it was not a favorable contract, and it was with, you may remember all the different names that have been in your trash can over the years, but I can remember Veolia and a few others. Right now it's GFL, and if we were still having to go on, it probably would be a new name as well. So this is the rare opportunity for the first time in 2 decades to get a better deal for our residents. Mayor?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because the fact that back in 2004, the city entered into a 20-year contract, and of course that initial contractor was bought by a different contractor, and so forth over the years. But it really has tied the city's hands in terms of being able to change some of the terms, whether it's price or whether it's typically these garbage pickup vendors are willing to give better prices if it's a longer contract. But at the same time, we don't want to tie the hands of the city if it turns out that we're dissatisfied with the quality or nature or pricing of a new vendor. So we're balancing those competing interests.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right. We are at communications. We want to remind residents to apply for the Oakland County Water Resources Commission's hardship. Oh,
we have one more.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, we amended the agenda. Discussion, Councilwoman James.
Yes, I just want to ask administration for an update on the construction manager at risk selection for the Community Youth Center.
Mayor Graham.
Sorry for my distraction. I'm urging our deputy mayor to go to a family event here if it's still happening. But the
Hear ye, Deputy Mayor Kalfani Stevens. Do not pass go, do not collect closing comments. Go see your family. Mayor Grimal.
So thank you for the question, Councilwoman. We actually had a kind of a summary meeting this morning to discuss this very topic. There were scores put in by people who were interviewing the possible construction management at risk firms. That's what CMAR stands for. And those scores were collated by the purchasing division. We had a meeting at 8:30 this morning to go through those scores, and we have settled on a recommended firm, and we'll be bringing that firm before council. We're hoping possibly as soon as next Tuesday, meaning June 11th, depending on how long it takes to write the contract, iron out the contract, all of that. It may not be until June 18th, but we did settle as of 9 a.m. this morning on a recommended candidate, but purchasing needs to do some work in terms of putting together a contract, and then, of course, the legal team needs to review it.
Further discussion. Councilman?
Please be swift. That's all I can say.
Further discussion? All right, communications. Want to encourage residents to apply for the Oakland County Water Resources Commission Hardship Assistance Program. First come, first serve resources to assist with past due water bills and plumbing repairs. So get Pontiac to the front of that line if you potentially excuse me, could use those resources. Construction is still underway on eastbound M59 Huron Street between Cherokee and Johnson, and that continues for the next few days through June 10th. So there's lane closures and traffic lane shifts taking place. You could still pass, but it's not as many lanes, and it does block some of the residential side streets access, including Johnson Street, southbound and northbound at that intersection. The annual meeting of the Friends of the Pontiac Parks Association is this Thursday, June 6th, 5:30 p.m. at the Pontiac Public Library. The guest speaker will be the Chief Park Planner for the City of Detroit, Teresa McCarlton. There's a community health fair this Saturday on June 8th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. held at Macedonia Missionary Baptist Church. The Art Fish Fun Festival at Bodette Park is also on June 8th. And the next District 7 meeting for the East Side is this coming Monday, June 10th, 7 to 9 p.m. at Prospect Church. All right, that covers some of the announcements we have between now and next City Council meeting. Mayor Greimel, communications.
Thank you. Just two quick items. One is we do have the third and final listening session around the design of the Youth Recreation Center scheduled. That is going to be on June 20th at 6 p.m. and it's going to be at the Ruth Peterson Center. So we encourage folks to come out on June 20th at 6 p.m. for the final listening session so we can hear from community members about what they'd like to see as part of the amenities that are included in the design and the ultimate construction of the new Youth Rec Center. So please join us for that important discussion. And then we also, as we continue our efforts to make sure that homeowners who live in historic districts or who live in historic homes really understand the process of maintaining those homes, what city ordinance says has to be done in terms of the proper process for making any alterations to the exterior of those homes. And to that end, we have an open house for property owners who live in historic homes or in historic districts coming up on Monday, June 10th. That's this coming Monday, June 10th, from 6 to 8 p.m. And that's going to be at the Bowens Senior Center. So please, if you're interested in learning more about that, please come on out and join us. And it dawns on me that I actually have a third announcement to make that I nearly forgot, and that is that the American Legion on Auburn Road is having their annual yard sale this, not this Saturday, the following Saturday, June 15th, from 10 to 3. So from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday, June 15th, come on out for the American Legion yard sale, the American Legion on Auburn.
Thank you. Mayor Greimel, closing comments.
Well, just one item, and I know I mentioned this a week or two ago, but it's very important because I want to acknowledge the great work that our code enforcement team is doing. And that is, in the month of May, they have issued now over 1,000 code enforcement violations for tall grass. So I know we have far too many property owners who have not been properly taking care of their grass. We are painfully aware of that, but I want people to know that our code enforcement team has been working very diligently and very hard to issue citations against those irresponsible property owners. And they issued over 1,000 such citations just in the month of May alone.
Thank you. We're at closing comments now for the clerk's office, and I want to especially thank the clerk's office for rolling with the punches from me, the council president. When I throw resolutions your way, you continue to hit it out of the park. Thank you very much for all the work you do, including at the 11th hour. Madam Deputy Clerk, any communications? Okay. Councilman Parker.
Everybody have a good evening. Oh, turn off the mic. Everybody have a great evening.
Thank you, sir. Councilman James.
I have two. First of all, the District 4 Community Council meeting will take place on Thursday, June 27th at 6 p.m. and it's held at the New Mount Moriah International Church, 313 East Walton Boulevard. We start at 6 p.m. Also, the Friends of the Pontiac Parks, an organization that I work with, is also in the process of hiring 10 youth in the city of Pontiac to work as junior park rangers in our city parks. The time frame will be June 17th through August 16th. So if you have a teen that would be interested in a job this summer, these jobs they pay $15 an hour, 25 hours per week. So if anyone is interested, if you have a teen that would be interested, please call me at 248-425-4663. Thank you.
Thank you. Pro Tem Carrington.
Yes, this will be very quick. President McGinnis, I'd just like to thank everyone that came out to the STEM event this past weekend at Ruth Peterson. The turnout was magnificent. I also want to thank the staff, the council staff, for working with me and making sure that event was a big success. Again, thank everybody for coming out tonight, as well as thank our community, our staff, as continue to do what they do in the community. I know sometimes it seems daunting the task because I'm constantly sending emails concerning high grass as well as other problems in our community. So I know it's tough. There's a lot of emails coming at our departments. But in a sense, I think it's good because when residents start sending emails as well, that means everybody is looking at a particular issue in our community, which we need to address. So good night.
Thank you, sir, and thank you so much to the Wings of Fire teammates that came out tonight. That was fantastic. And I want to thank James McQueen from the City Council staff that assisted us. And I thought it was more meaningful if each student was able to have a resolution, so that way for their open house or for their scrapbook, versus just one framed for the whole team that might sit on a wall or sit in an office there. I thought it was more meaningful for the students, so we were able to turn that around in a pinch, and I want to thank him for that. So just a quick snapshot of some of my actions in the last few days in terms of my council leadership role, helping prepare and set the agenda and communicate that with city council members, chairing the Economic Development Subcommittee's monthly meeting, authored 4 resolutions, provided an interview feedback and conducted an interview with some of the colleagues for one of the administration's candidates for a prospective department head, studied the budget for prospective amendments, and as you heard tonight, did some inquiring on where we stood with the waste management contract for the city. Here's a snapshot of just sort of a day in the life of a city council member when it comes to the East Side and District 7. These are the items I've reported or helped fix in the last few days. But we had a drain that was clogged in Murphy Park that has been cleared, raised concerns about the site securing for the Purdue school that the city owns on the east side. Debris reported on Edith, tall grass on Allen, tall grass on Eastway, assisting a senior resident on the east side in District 7 for the water hardship program that I heard you heard me share about tonight. Also, leading another senior towards some home repair resources with an agency. Dumped debris on Cameron, tall grass along Featherstone, blocked sidewalk on Jesse, historic signage that can hopefully be installed soon along Pike Street, homegoing service for Pastor Keys, and spoke on behalf of the City Council, and providing condolences to the entire Monument of Faith congregation as well as the Keys family, but an important institution on the east side. Reported graffiti on the Phoenix Center, which Oakland County did resolve. Reported graffiti on Orchard Lake Road underneath the train overpass. Tall grass on University Drive, tall grass on Roselawn, unruly activities and code violations on Anderson, speeding concerns on Tasmania, speeding concerns on Judson, overgrowth at the sidewalk, blocking the sidewalk on Chandler, tall grass on Paddock, and potholes on Tasmania. What we was shared tonight about the tall grass on North Shirley, I did just shoot a message to code enforcement to report that. And so that's just a little snapshot. I know other city council members are similarly trying to get those concerns to the appropriate departments, following up, fielding those phone calls, text messages, emails. It's a lot, but it's important work, and it bears results. It gets results. So just a friendly reminder that the next District 7 monthly meeting is next Monday, June 10th at 7 p.m., and that is at Prospect Missionary Baptist Church, 351 Prospect Street. All are welcome and invited. No cost of admission except the cost of caring about Pontiac. Food and refreshments provided. Again, our East Side Community Meeting next Monday, June 10th at 7 p.m. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
Moved by Carrington.
Moved by Pro Tem Carrington and seconded by Councilman Parker that we adjourn this evening's meeting. Hearing no further discussion, roll call, Deputy Clerk.
Carrington,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
4 yeas.
That motion carries. We stand adjourned at 8:23 p.m. Please be safe and have a great